Mr. Iran Kunda.
Greetings and welcome, fellow Watford supporters, to this brand new edition of the You ORNS Watford FC post-match. I'm going to put this on, actually, although it's really hot around here. Welcome aboard, come one, come all, to this brand new edition of the You ORNS Watford FC post-match. Yours truly, Omar, here on this very sunny, as you can tell, sunny afternoon here in San Francisco, California. After the Golden Boys get the job done in Carrow Road at Norwich tonight, a score of 1-0. It was a late goal from Vivaldo Semedo that made all the difference and put Watford into the playoff places to close out 2025. That's right, Watford in the playoff places now after a 1-0 victory at Norwich. It was quite an uneven game for the Golden Boys, as we played very well, I thought, for the first half hour of the first half, and then began to really disappear in the game. And then in the second half, that continued as Norwich really found their footing and had some moments where they should have scored against the Watford side, who were bidding to win back-to-back away games for the first time in 5 years. Cardiff and Brentford, I think, were those opponents in December of 2020. That was the last time Watford had won back-to-back away games. Well, they didn't have to wait too much longer because they managed to make it happen. Literally 3.5 days after beating Leicester City at the King Power, Watford were able to get the job done tonight at Carrow Road against the Norwich side that had been going pretty well. A Watford team that came in here unchanged again, and Javi Gracia has really trusted the lads that he's going with. It's been a strong Watford performance first half-wise, but second half it was all Norwich. But what we did well, and I'm going to take this off now, is this Watford hat that you can see me holding here, the sunlight coming through here. What we did really well in the second half was we suffered well. We defended really well tonight. And I thought for the most part, we did a really great job across all areas of the pitch. Even though we didn't play well in the second half of the match, we did the fundamentals well. And listen, you can actually have a poor performance in a half, but still employ solid footballing fundamentals. And what Watford did tonight in the second half at Carrow Road was to really have good footballing fundamentals. Defense, safety first, nothing harmful, nothing silly. Communicating, coordinating, cohesiveness. They defended well under pressure against the Norwich side who ran us off the pitch for almost the entire second half. So even though we got dominated in many ways in the second half, we did the footballing fundamentals well, and specifically the football fundamentals of defending. If you don't have a man to pass to, if you see danger around you, kick the ball out. That's the first rule of defending. And Watford did that throughout the second half. Very effective play. I thought Mark Bowler's goal line clearance was very important, the biggest play of the game that many Watford supporters aren't going to remember. But it was Mark Bowler's goal line clearance that really helped keep the game at 0-0. And it was literally only maybe 5 to 10 minutes after that, maybe 15 minutes after that, that Watford managed to get the goal. Iran Kunda coming onto the pitch. He is the You ORNS Watford FC man of the match. Laid on a really good ball to Semedo, who then turned around, controlled it, and blasted the ball in. It took a deflection on the way in from a Norwich City defender. But that is a nitty-gritty goal for Watford that gives us all 3 points. What a joy that is to see us get those points late like that. A kind of smash and grab, if you will. Watford get all 3 points, and now we'll go into the new year having 3 consecutive wins. And 3 wins in the space of 9 days. Unreal stuff from your Golden Boys tonight. Very pleased, very proud of these lads. And I know it's very late in the United Kingdom at the time I'm doing this. But this is a really good win for Watford. Even though we didn't play particularly well second half, we got the job done. And it was those super subs, Vivaldo, Semedo, and Nestori Irankunda, who were the difference at the end when we were flagging, when we got tired in that second half. It was those two lads with the fresh legs who were the key to this victory. Sam Madsen. Hello, Sam. Hope you're well. I bet you are after these 3 points tonight. Good job, Sam. Sam writes in and he says, big 3 points. Sam, 100% with you. Massive 3 points for us tonight when it looked for all the world that we were going to go in with a 0-0 in this game. And frankly, if we had done a 0-0, I wouldn't have been disappointed with it because Norwich really ran us off the park for the vast majority of that second half. I really can't. I wouldn't have faulted a 0-0. Clean sheet, right? But you know what? Right now, you'll take this 1-0 all day long, won't you? So absolutely fantastic stuff. And Sam, you're 100% on that. It was a big 3 points tonight. And when you're not playing well in games, the fact that you can get victories still says a lot about you. If you play poorly or play not nearly as well as you did first half and still come out with a win, that's the sign of a team that's not only going well, but that's the sign of a team that's going places. So 100% there, Sam. And Sam also writes in, roll on Brum. Absolutely. Birmingham next. The Brummies are next. Coming up on New Year's Day, the first day of 2026, will be spent at the Vic when Watford do host the Brummies. Birmingham coming into the building at the Vic to make themselves the guests at Watford on Thursday, January the 1st. And we have a score to settle with Birmingham after our 3-1 defeat to them. You may remember that earlier this month. We lost to them by a score of 3-1. Marmer scoring his first goal in a Watford shirt in that game. But Damari Gray was the danger man. He scored twice in that game, that brace, as Birmingham won fairly comfortably in the game by a score of 3-1. But we'll see how we fare against Birmingham on Thursday. We must pick up the 3 points there. We have to look to do that now. And now when you start to win, it becomes contagious. And then the expectations of us as fans and supporters, it grows and grows. And so, and not a surprise that every Watford supporter now is expecting us to do better in terms of playing better and also trying to get a win. And if we can get that win on Thursday to start the brand new year, we will be well up in those playoffs. I mean, we're in the playoff spots now, but if you get a win on Thursday, you're well up in there. I mean, that's fantastic stuff. And as I was saying on X a little bit ago, one of the things that's so good about where we are now is the evolution of our players, of our lads, over these 3.5 months of football. We have evolved. We started out as a plucky, eager, youthful side that didn't know what their roles were, playing under a taskmaster who made no friends and made lots of enemies, to a side that has grown in confidence, a side that has an idea of what it's doing out there, a side that is audacious away from home, a side that moves the ball a lot faster, and a side that defends a lot better than it did, say, 5, even 10 games ago. And a side who loves playing for the manager who is presently there. Javi Gracia has made all the difference. And these players look like a different kind of gravy, don't they? They look different gravy. Fantastic play tonight by a number of lads. Nestori Irankunda, again, is the YOU ORNS Watford FC man of the match. It was his aggressiveness and tenacity that I think helped set up this win, this late goal, because, of course, he had the assist to Vivaldo Semedo, who scored. But Nestori Irankunda, when he came on the pitch in the 80 whatever minute it was, or whenever it was, brought a different level of energy to this Watford side. And you saw it, and you saw him. He looked very eager. He looked very decisive tonight. He had a hunger about him tonight, you know, and that wisdom that he always has, but he really used it to good, positive effect tonight. And he is able to get Watford over the line with his assist for Vivaldo Semedo, who scored, I think, his 3rd goal of the season, maybe 3rd or 4th goal of the season for Vivaldo Semedo in the 90th minute. And the other thing about this game, fellow Watford supporters, that's really important is that we are getting late goals in our favor. scoring late goals to win games. We did this twice against Derby to turn things around. We were down 2-0 and then 2-1. We scored twice late in that game. Remember, that was Kayembe scoring twice, 84th minute, 88th minute, or 85th and 88th minutes. Remember that? 2 goals in 4 minutes gave us 3 points. Vivaldo Semedo himself, remember a few weeks ago, earlier this month, against Sheffield Wednesday at the Vic. We played poorly in that game. We were seconds away from losing to a bottom of the table side at home, which would have been an awful loss. When Vivaldo Semedo popped up, scored a 97th minute winner. Excuse me, it felt like a winner, but it was an equalizer to get a share of points against a Wednesday side who really, I think for lots of that game outplayed us. And then tonight, we get that late goal from Semedo again. Just when it looked like the game was going to head to a 0-0 draw against a team in the bottom 2. That's fantastic. And that's the kind of thing you need. 1 defeat in 12. That's the kind of stretch you need. That's the kind of stretch that shows that you're going the right way. And it's a stretch that bodes well if Watford can continue this level of consistency, which is what we have searched for much of this season, trying to find an inconsistency for our lads. And under this new head coach, the new old head coach, Javi Gracia, we have found that consistency. I think it's inescapable, fellow Watford supporters. And it's great to have you aboard. Why are these highlights taking ages to come out, says Sam. Sam, I don't know. Sam, that's a good question. I think on social media, I guess there's a lot of editing that has to be done with the Watford social media team and the EFL. I don't know. It's a good question, but I think that's part to do with it. If you didn't see the game, you're in for a treat with the highlight for that goal, because I thought the goal was well worked. Iran Kunda had come on and he was energetic. He pressed the ball very well. Watford did not press a lot in this game. They pressed in the opening parts of the second half, and then late in the game. And Iran Kunda's pressing really was the thing that set the stage for the goal. So when those highlights do come, I'm sure you'll appreciate them. When they do, you'll see what Iran Kunda did. And that's why he's my You ORNS Watford FC man of the match, because he was very, very good at putting pressure on that Norwich defense with and without the ball. Mark Avery. Hello there, Mark. Mark Avery writes, "We are on the march. Keep it up." Yes, sir. Mark, absolutely. Keep it up is the right score. And we are on the march. Mark is absolutely correct, fellow Watford supporters. This team has lost just once in the last 12. Just once in the last 12 games. And that defeat was to the opponent that we're playing to start the new year off this coming Thursday. So we have a score to settle against Birmingham, and that will be at the Vic, the first day of the new year on Thursday. So we have a chance to avenge that defeat. The only defeat we've had in the last 12 matches. That march, as Mark Avery points out, is, as I said before, indicative of a team that's not only going in the right direction, but is actually going places. When you think about it, now, after 24 matches, we are in the top 6, 38 points. We're right there. We're only a few points off the automatic places. Man, this is just unreal. But this didn't happen overnight. It was methodical, it was careful, and it was something that evolved over time. It's just, I'm just looking here at the table, and this table is just unbelievable. Unbelievable. This table, look at this table here. Coventry in first on 51. Middlesbrough, who lost tonight, as well as Coventry. Both Coventry and Middlesbrough lost at home. Coventry on 51, Middlesbrough on 43. Ipswich, who beat Coventry at Coventry tonight, on 41. Hull, who I think they got a result tonight too. They're on 41 points. And they did. They beat Middlesbrough. And then Millwall, who beat, I think, Bristol City tonight, if I can look at this. Yeah, they beat Bristol City 2-1. And then Watford, us, we beat Norwich 1-0. We're on 38 points. 5 points behind the automatic places. Middlesbrough on 43. It's incredible. And if we were to win on Thursday, we could go as high as fourth. Our goal difference is not as superior as Ipswich. And Ipswich have a plus 17, we have a plus 5. There's no way we'll go into third. But we could go as high as fourth. I mean, this is absolutely unbelievable. But when you think about it, it's really not unbelievable because, as I said before, the journey is key. Of course, the destination is the thing we are hoping for, a positive destination at the end of the season. But the journey has been a joy. It's been a frustration and a joy. Think about some of those games that we could have won, the Swansea game. Think of some of those games that we could have lost, the Sheffield Wednesday game. And you see how this is, the yin and the yang. The wins, the defeats, the draws. That's what makes the season go round, the world go round, the Watford go round, the fans get into it. And now there's a buzz about the place as we head to the Vic on January 1, 2026, right around the corner. Our last game of the calendar year that was 2025 now in the books, as Norwich City 0, Watford 1 is your result from Carrow Road tonight. Absolutely lovely. And the Watford way, hello to you, Watford way, says, well in. Delighted with that gritty performance. Yeah, Watford way, 100%. That is about right. It was a gritty performance tonight, especially in that second half. And I have said this before, Watford way, and to those of you watching this as well, in addition to Watford way, that we didn't have the great second half. It was not a great second half by any stretch. I think we played rather poorly. However, I'll repeat this once again. Our footballing fundamentals in that second half were very good. We defended right. We defended well. We defended well individually. We defended well as a team. We thought about safety first, and we were committed to it. And our strength and our shape was right defensively throughout the entire game. So, look, we did everything you have to do as an away side, and I thought that side of the performance, even though the performance second half overall was not good at all, we stuck to the footballing fundamentals. And you can have a poor performance in a game or in a half and still stick to footballing fundamentals and still come out with that as a good part of a poor half. What that's about is tactics and basics. And when you're not imposing your will on a Norwich side away from home, make sure you stick to the bread and butter of the footballing fundamentals. And that's what this side did tonight. And they did it well. Our lads stuck to the footballing fundamentals throughout that second half. And we got over the line with two substitutes who had energy, who had drive, who had purpose, and who were committed and had the focus and the skill set to get the team over the line. And as I said, again, the You ORNS Watford FC man of the match is Nestori Irankunda, because he came on late and made a big difference in this game. And yes, it would be easy to give Semedo the props for scoring and give him man of the match. And I can understand people going with Matty Pollock because he was excellent again in defense. Max Lane did a good job again. But really, the team was flagging. In that second half, our energy was nowhere. We were really leggy. I thought we were tired. We did not play well, but we hung on with, as I said, a performance that involved us employing the footballing fundamentals. We did that well enough. And if you can do that well enough and bring on the subs that can make a difference and turn a game, that's what can really do it. I thought our substitutions, when they were done efficiently and carefully. I thought Norwich made some big mistakes tonight with their substitutes. They were trying to go for the kitchen sink, and they were getting impatient. The fans were getting impatient as well. And I think the manager reacted to that, the Norwich manager, who is fairly new at the club now. He was not Norwich manager when we beat them a few weeks ago, if memory serves me correctly. But I think he got a little bit impatient, and he ended up making all these changes. He brought on 3 subs. He brought on these 2 strikers at once, which meant that the midfield or the defense was going to get sacrificed. Watford controlled the midfield thanks to that, and the balance began to shift a little bit more in that second half, even though we weren't putting our front foot forward, but it was just one chance. This game, the longer it went on at 0-0, was going to require just one chance to unlock the Norwich side tonight, or one chance to unlock the Watford side tonight. I think Norwich had that one chance, but it was Mark Bowler's goal line clearance that made a really big difference. And I thought that was a really good sign. I thought another good sign for Watford was when Josh Hart, I'm thinking about the New York Knicks, who get playing in another hour or so. I think I got the Knicks on my mind right now. The New York Knicks, the NBA Cup champion New York Knicks, by the way. But look, that's another story, different sport. Josh Sargent, when he got subbed off for Norwich, I thought that was a good sign for us. And the reason why is because, as you know, as a fellow Watford supporter, Josh Hart, I keep saying Josh Hart. I'm thinking about the New York Knicks. Oh, gosh. When Josh Sargent, who is also an American, just like Josh Hart is, when Josh Sargent came off the pitch for Norwich tonight, I was really thinking that this is really good, because Josh Sargent always scores against Watford. Always. He scored the game earlier this month at the Vic against us to take a 1-0 lead, did he, with Norwich? He scored in each of the last 4 games, I think, that Norwich and Watford have played in. So Josh Sargent is a Watford killer, and it was so good to see him come off the pitch. I thought, great. We don't have to worry about him anymore. And really, when he came off the pitch and they brought on Makamba, who scored the winning goal for Norwich against Charlton the other day on Boxing Day, didn't do anything of note, really, when he came on the pitch. And I thought that the rush of bringing in all these forwards kept Watford going, because, look, there were holes in the back, which Watford began to exploit. Holes in the midfield. We had overrun them in midfield because you're taking midfielders off and putting strikers on. You're going to give a numerical advantage tactically to us with the midfield. And even with Loser coming off the pitch, and he was obviously injured, we hope that he'll be okay. Watford had a numerical advantage in the midfield area, and we began to unlock and overwhelm them late in the game. And I think that's when Iran Kunda was that one person who needed to just unlock this team. And he did, thanks to his pass that found Semedo. Semedo turned around and made no mistake. Fantastic stuff. Let me read out your comments, because they are beginning to emerge here some more on this You ORNS YouTube post-match. It's great to have you aboard here, fellow Watford supporters. Unusual that I even do these on a weekday, but found the time to do it today, since it is the last day of the game, the last day of the year for Watford football, until, of course, a few days from now when we start the calendar year anew. I had to do this tonight. Had to do this, as it's now almost midnight in the United Kingdom. I will not keep you for more than another 5 minutes or so, because I know it is getting late and you have to go to work tomorrow. And so I will definitely heed that. So we'll be done in about 5 or 6 minutes. But let me read out the rest of your comments. Matt, hello, Matt. Great to see you again. Hey, Omar, what great Christmas period for a change. 3 games played and 3 games won. Matt, precisely. We've gone up the table here, Matt. In a matter of 9 days, in these 3 matches, we've gone from 15th all the way up to 6th. And that's the beauty of the championship. You have a bunch of teams that are clustered together on a certain amount of points, which is what I kept saying at the time, is not to look at the position in the table. Just look at the points. And granted, you're going to always look at the position. I get that. But when Watford were down in the 15th spot and the 14th and the 13th spot, you just had to look at the teams all around Watford who were on similar points as they. And you knew that they were going to start to play each other, and they're not going to all pick up points. And then if Watford could find a measure of consistency, 2 or 3 wins, as you all know, can zoom you up the table in the championship, and really fast. And that's what's happened to Watford here. They've turned draws into wins, and their character has turned defeats into wins. And when you have that level of quality and that level of good play and really good character, it's going to make a difference for you when you get on that pitch, and you're going to get better. And so Watford, when you can put 2 or 3 wins together, you can fly up this championship table really fast. And Watford are doing that now, which is why they are where they are in the playoff spots now, with a platform that they can build on some more. 3 consecutive wins, 2 consecutive away wins, First time in 5 years that we've had that. December of 2020, as I may have mentioned earlier. And you also have just one defeat in the last 12 matches. That kind of a run, as I've said earlier in this broadcast, is what gets you to where you get to, is what gets you to where you want to be. And now you're just 5 points off the automatic places. Forget being in the playoff spots. You're just 5 points from automatic. And Middlesbrough can be very streaky. I think Coventry are pretty settled. And Coventry are going to lose a game or two, but I think they're pretty settled at the moment. Middlesbrough, again, I don't trust Middlesbrough in a big spot. And even though Middlesbrough have had an outstanding start to their season, I don't trust them in a big spot. I really don't believe that they're going to hold on to that automatic place. Which means now you legitimately have 5 teams who can challenge Middlesbrough for that automatic place. Maybe I'm getting ahead of myself here, fellow Watford supporters. But you've got Ipswich. Ipswich looked very good, having, of course, just been relegated last season. They won tonight at Coventry. I think that's a very impressive win. Third place Ipswich. Hull City have been going very well all season. They're on 41 points in fourth. Millwall, with a -5 goal difference, I might add. They're in fifth on 39 points. And we're just a point behind them in sixth. +5 goal difference. So if we can leapfrog ahead of Millwall, if we can get a win, really, if we can get a win on Thursday to start the new year, start off 2026 correct, start it off right, you never know. We'd be right up there. We'd be fourth because Ipswich's goal difference, as I said earlier, is far superior to ours. Preston are in seventh place on 37, and then it's Bristol City on 36. And I won't go quite below that because those two teams, Preston and Bristol City, have +6 goal differences. QPR below them have a -3. So you literally have 5 or 6 teams that can challenge Middlesbrough for that automatic place. I'm not trying to get too far ahead of myself. I'm just reading out what the lay of the land is at the end of this calendar year. Watford, who began 2025 on the very first day of the year, losing 3-0 at QPR, and with a manager named, Tom Cleverley at the time, end this calendar year, today at least, with a 1-0 win at Norwich with a manager named Javi Gracia. And Javi Gracia was the head coach here when Tom Cleverley was a player at Watford. The last time that Javi Gracia was the head coach prior to this season, Tom Cleverley was a starter in his lineup. It's very interesting, isn't it? How things are with football and how life and football and how little things that may not be connected may be connected actually. Start the beginning of the year with Tom Cleverley, end the year with Javi Gracia, and one managed the other at Watford. Maybe that doesn't mean anything, but sometimes I look at these things and go, isn't that interesting? It is an interesting thing. But let me read the rest of your comments for the Watford supporters. A couple more minutes and I'll be saying goodbye on this late night on Tuesday if you are in the United Kingdom watching this or wherever you might be across the world as a Watford supporter. Hello, good evening, welcome. And any other football supporter that might be watching this, thank you for doing so. Please subscribe, hit the like button on all of the videos here on this channel, and please subscribe to the You ORNS Watford FC YouTube channel at You ORNS WFC. There'll be much more content here. The last few weeks I have not been putting up a lot. It's been so busy and with the Christmas stuff and the shopping and all the rest. And so my energies are focused elsewhere. But listen, now I'm back and focused, and you'll be getting a lot more content here in the coming days. So please stay tuned, as well as on Substack as well. Please subscribe. You see in the chat, you see the address that's been pinned to the chat. It is youornswfc, the number 1.substack.com. So please remember to subscribe there as well. I want to read out your comments before I do say goodnight to you all. The Watford way, how much would you rotate for Birmingham? Some of these players have got a lot of minutes in their legs. I would not do too much rotating, by the way, for Birmingham, because you don't want to disrupt continuity. Watford way, I understand that Loser, that's the only bad news potentially. Loser had to come off, remember, and he was clutching at his left shoulder, which is not a good sign. But I've seen players come off and clutch at their shoulders before, and then they're in the starting lineup the next game. So we hope that it's not serious for Loser. But I think you're going to probably see if Loser obviously isn't able to play. Obviously, you'll see a change there. But I don't think you should rotate too much here. I understand that there's a busy festive period. It was right to take off Luca. He was right, Javi, to take Luca off. He took off Ngaka fairly early in the game as well, at least early in the second half, fairly early. I thought those are good moves. I think they're going to play again to start the game on New Year's Day. Banquet came in as well. Remember, also Papi Mendy came in the game for a long period of time. So I don't think that they necessarily have to do too much rotating at all, Watford way. They're still a young side, and I know they do need some time and they do need some rest. As I said earlier, the lads looked a bit tired to me in the second half, but it was that infusion of energy from Iran Kunda and Sameda that really gave us those 3 points, and that's why I give Nestori Iran Kunda the YOU ORNS Watford FC man of the match. But my answer to you, Watford way, is I don't think they need to make too much retooling. Unless there are injuries, I think you'll see maybe max 2 changes, but I do not see a reason at the moment to do too much retooling because, look, you can always sub these guys off 65 minutes in and put someone else in. And there's a big squad to choose from, and you can let these guys start and take them off 65 minutes or so, depending on the way the game is going. You can do that. So for me, if they already know they're going to play max 65, 70 minutes, I would get away with keeping the side the same if Loser is not injured. If it's not, the saying, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. The side has been unchanged for 3 consecutive games now, and they've won all 3 of them games. And when you're winning games, I don't care if it's a 3 and 9 days or not. When you're winning 3 games in a row, you do not want to change that lineup unless you have to due to injury. So there might be an enforced change, and we just hope that obviously that Imran Loser comes through this without any issue. But we'll see. I think 1 or 2 changes max, Watford way. But thanks for the question. We'll read out the rest of your comments. Let's see here. Here's a comment from Mark Avery. Hello again, Mark. Gino, add a few in the window to back Javi. I hear you, Mark. Gino did a good job here, and I know, listen, I'm not the biggest fan of the owner, but he did. I gave him a lot of credit for the summer successes of the summer transfer window earlier in the year, obviously this past summer. I don't think that they need it. I don't think they're going to add a few, Mark. I think if anything, they'll add 1, and that's probably going to be a central midfielder. I actually think they should do that. I was calling for them to add a striker, but I don't think the striking area is where their concern is. I think it's midfield, because I think they're going to need to have another midfielder to overrun things that other teams are doing, and also to spell pressure off of Imran Loser and diversify what that central midfield looks like. I think that Georgie is going to be played in a much more advanced 10 role. I think he's tended to do that a lot. And I do think that that still means that they need to call for some more flexibility in the center of the park. You've got the holder in Cipriano, and I think, you can mix and match with certain midfielders. Papi Mendy comes in and does a good job at times, but he can sit. He can also go forward. He can break up play very well. But I think you really do need a central midfielder who can really orchestrate play. And and Mendy's in a different role. He's not necessarily an orchestrator of play. He's a breaker up of play, and he is able to move the ball forward. But you want a technical center, I'm thinking of baseball now, center mid, like a Loser type. And those don't grow on trees, as we all know. I would like to, Mark, see a central mid come in here. I don't think, though, Mark, just my humble opinion, I don't think Gino's going to add a load of players. You said a few. I don't think he's going to add a few players. I think he'll add 1 max. And the reason why I say that, Mark, is because in the summer, Gino did a lot of good business. Whether you like the owner or not, Gino did a good job. I'm not a fan of the owner, but I took my hat off to him earlier in the year when he completed a really successful window. And I think because we have a lot of good players, a lot of talent that we got in that window, Mark. I really don't think that we're going to see too much movement. Now, in the Watford Observer a few days ago, Valon Barami, who's in the front office now, beloved Watford player from 2015, 16, etc., one of the great midfielders that we've had over the last few years, he made it clear that Watford was not really going to be in the market for a midfielder unless they absolutely had to be. And he was of the mind that they weren't going to really do any business at all. That was a couple of weeks ago in the Watford Observer. You can go look that up. And I tend to think that he's going to stick by that, except for the central mid. I think they're going to have to go and get one, regardless of what the status of loser is. I just think they need a bit more depth in the center of midfield. But squad-wise overall, we're very good right now. Do not change what's going on. We're going well. Don't forget, we're going to have Rocco Vata. Hopefully, it's before the season's out. We're going to have Quadro Bar. I know these aren't midfield players, but I'm just saying our squad-wise depth is very good. We're going to have Quadro Bar back, perhaps in the squad as soon as Thursday. That was reported tonight on BBC 3CR with Del Payne, and Jeff Doyle. And that's been reported in other places too. So we could get Quadro Bar back as soon as Thursday in the squad on the bench, which would be absolutely remarkable. Don't forget, you've got Caleb Wiley, left back. He's been out for a long time. I don't know what his status is. Don't forget, you've also got the likes of Jack Grieve, who's been out, I think, all year. And remember, you've also got, as I said, Rocco Vata. I don't think I'm forgetting anybody. And Imran Loser, we will see on. So, I think we've been fairly lucky when you consider it with injuries. We've been fairly lucky this season. And there is luck that's involved in this. So to answer your question, Mark, it wasn't a question, it was a statement that you made. I don't think he's going to add a few. And I don't think he needs to add a few. I think he needs to add one. Would it be great to have a striker in here? Additionally, yeah. I was lobbying for that, but when AFCON comes to an end in the next couple of weeks or so, you're going to get back Doumbia, and you're going to get back Kayembe in midfield. So, but I still think we need cover. I still think we need another central mid, and I would like to see that happen. So, Mark, we'll see what happens. We'll see if Gino adds a few, but I highly doubt it, and I don't think he should. You've got a good, strong, robust squad. You got players who we'd love to see that didn't even get in the side. Max Elaine, until a month ago, wasn't even playing these games, and he's done a blooming good job. So we'll see, Mark. Thank you for the comment, and we'll go to Watford Way. Nice to see the sunshine on you, Omar. Thank you indeed, Watford Way. Thank you for that. What time is it over there? Well, I know you asked us a few minutes ago. It is 7 minutes to 4 in the afternoon here on a Monday early evening, or earlier, late afternoon. So it is now 7 minutes to 4 as I record this here in sunny San Francisco, California. As the sun is beginning to set a little bit, it's still blue sky out here. But yeah, it's beginning to slowly but surely set as we go through winter time. Thank you for that, Watford Way. And I'm sure it is, if you're in the United Kingdom, I'm sure it's almost midnight there, which I've already run through my promise to do about 5 or 6 more minutes, but I'm still going to read out your comments and then I'll say goodbye. So I'm going to read out more of your comments. Neil Rigby, hello to you, Neil. Nice to see you. Thank you very much for your comment, which I'll read right now. Hi, Omar, and Neil writes, we're starting our challenge at just the right time of the season. Neil continues, most successful teams can have a poor half like we did tonight and still get the points. Neil, thank you very much for that. That's a really good comment, and I totally agree. And I was alluding to what you said earlier before you came into the room and said what you said, is that a sign of a team going well is when you don't play a great half of football or even a great game of football, but you still come out with 3 points. How many times have we seen Arsenal do this season, where they have not played good football and they've managed to come out with 3 points, such as the game against Wolves recently, and they came from behind that they ended up winning by a score of 2-1. I think they came from behind. No, they didn't come from behind. We've seen this with Manchester City at times. We've seen this with Liverpool at times. And we've seen this with any number of teams in any of these divisions, including in the Championship, where they don't play well. Coventry's had a couple of those kind of games, but they get the 3 points. That is a sign of something positive when you're trending in the right direction like that. And Neil, I appreciate your comment. Thank you very much indeed for that. because it does make the difference. And you can play really well and still lose games, and you can play really poorly and still win games. And a few months ago, under the previous manager, we might have lost tonight, or we might have got a 0-0 draw. But we have a manager now that we know and love, who's been there and done that with us before, and he is beginning to move the needle slowly but surely. If I can pronounce this properly, slowly but surely into where we want to be. And that's where we finish 2025. It's a great way to finish the calendar year, Neil, and everyone else watching. As you know, it's a great way to finish the calendar year, to go into the end of the year and go into the new year in the playoff spots. And there's still room for improvement. And we still haven't got our full complement of players. We're in a very good position right now. Marma's adjusting. He looks really good. Live wire. Ince looks solid. Iran Kunda. Ngakia. Loser. Matty Pollock again tonight. It's good. This is good. And I love it. I love it. And I know you do too. And XS Dan X says this: Ipswich, Watford, and Hull. Now, I know this is an earlier comment, Dan, that you had been making, and thank you for it, about the teams that are around trying to challenge for automatic. Yeah, we've got a draw against Ipswich. Remember that at the earlier this season when Ipswich outplayed us. Speaking of games where we don't play well but still get points, that one at Portman Road a few weeks back, when Ipswich led early and then we scored and we played fairly decently, but we repelled every Ipswich attack at their place, got a 1-1 draw there. We might be having to see Ipswich again, not just in the season, but maybe beyond the season, into the playoffs. I don't want to jinx anything. These teams are going to be the ones that we're going to be dealing with. And I said this throughout the season. We need to take points off of teams that are in and around us. And we've been doing that. Bristol City, we took a point from them, although we blew a 1-0 lead there, got a point. We talked about the likes of an Ipswich. We beat Hull earlier this season, right? We got a draw against Preston. These are teams that are in and around us. Millwall, we lost to. We didn't play well there. But the point is that most of these teams around us, we've already taken points off of, or we've beaten. Very, very important. Okay, Omar, says Dan, wish you a happy new year. Happy new year to you as well, Dan, as we are climbing to midnight here, and I'm going to close it out. But there's so many more comments that have come in. Wow. Thank you very much for the comments. Please subscribe to the You ORNS WFC YouTube channel that you are presently watching. Please like and subscribe. Like the videos and subscribe and spread the word about the You ORNS WFC YouTube channel. More content to come over the next 24 hours or less as we go into 2026. We end 2025 with this really good away win. Even though we didn't play well second half, we did the fundamentals right. And that's what really helped turn the tide late on. And very, very good stuff in the first half from us for the most part. We did very well at Carrow Road. Good job there. We are beating teams in the bottom of the table or getting points off them, which is also important, where we used to, in the past, overlook these teams at the bottom. But I think we are a lot more sensible about that this season, even though we did get the defeat to Sheffield United in Javi's first game in charge, and we did get a late draw against Wednesday, who are going to get relegated, let's face it. Matt says, as they always say, expect the unexpected in football. Anything could happen by the start and the end of the season. Thank you, Matt. Well put. Really appreciate that. So very true, 100%. It is an unpredictable sport. Like everything else, life is unpredictable. But you have to expect the unexpected. Who knows where Watford go from here? It could go very well, or it could go spectacularly wrong, or somewhere in between. But we will see over these remaining 22 matches. Watford have played 24, one over the halfway point now. But we end the calendar year at Norwich 0, Watford 1. What a priceless away win. Semedo with his, I think, his fourth goal of the season. Maybe his third or fourth. He got a goal against, I think, either Oxford or Hull. Maybe Hull, I forget which. But very important win tonight. Very, very important. It establishes us now in the playoffs, and now we have to build from there. It's a different kind of building block now, because now there's going to be a target on your back when teams play you. Oh, you're high flying Watford. All right. Can you deal with us? And they're going to start asking us a lot more questions. So we're going to have to adjust to all of that. Birmingham are going to come in here and make some noise. But if we can get past Birmingham and beat Birmingham at the Vic, then I think we are really, really looking good. Really looking good. And Hull, the games won't get any easier. Hull City will be after that on Sunday afternoon. And then we'll be having a break from the championship and be going to the FA Cup game at Bristol City. I would advise Watford to tank that game. I am not interested in any FA Cup. I know there was a decade or two back in the past where we wouldn't be saying that, but nobody cares about the FA. I shouldn't say this, but FA Cup is not our priority this season. If we were in the Premier League right now, maybe we would be saying something very different. But we have to go playoffs and better or bust. It's playoffs or bust here. And for some Watford fans, it's promotion or bust. You know, which is what this roster was put together for, to actually get up into the Premier League. But we'll see. Long way to go. I don't even want to talk about anything to do with promotion. Playoffs was what I predicted. And right now, I predicted that right after we did our final bit of business. And right now, where are we? Playoffs. Long way to go. But it's better to end 2025 in the playoffs than outside the playoffs. And you can always build on that. Now, here we go with some more comments. Matt, thank you for yours. Dan says, wasn't a dislocation. Cannot be, in my opinion. We'll see. We don't know, Dan. I mean, it's your opinion, as you point out, obviously, yes. But we don't know. We just don't know what it is. I have not looked at the news yet. I don't know what the story is on Loser yet, so I'm not at liberty to say. But you and I cannot possibly tell what it is at the moment. We will have to rely on the physios, the doctors, and whatnot. And we'll get a report, I'm sure, between now and New Year's Day when we play Birmingham to find out what it is, if anything, with Loser. It might not end up being anything. I remember Quadro Bar at Coventry had a shoulder thing. He kept clutching his shoulder. He had to be taken out of the game. And then the very next game he played. So we don't know yet, Dan, obviously. But we'll find out. Somewhere or other, there'll be some report on Loser, and we'll see what the prognosis is and how seriously injured he is, or whether it's just some kind of not, you just don't know. We'll find out. But Dan, thank you for the comment. Ryan, hello, Ryan. And Ryan says, hello, Omar. How are you? I'm doing really good. Ryan, thanks for asking, especially after this Watford victory tonight that ends up sending us into 2026 in the playoffs. That's a really good win. So I'm very pleased with that, Ryan. I'm doing very well. I know it's past midnight now. Goodness me, I've broken the promise again about shutting off this particular episode of the You ORNS Watford FC post-match, but your comments are coming in. I have no choice but to read them. I'm not going to not read them. The final You ORNS post-match live on YouTube of 2025, I'm not going to not read your comments out for the Watford supporters. That would be absolutely, blasphemous of me, shall I say. And then Ryan continues on and he writes, good 3 points at the last minutes of the game at Norwich City. We are the Orns. There's only one team in yellow. One team in yellow. There's only one team in yellow. One team in yellow. Well done, Ryan. That was from Ryan. Ryan, thank you very much for that. Absolutely. It was so funny for much of the game. It was the Norwich fans shouting that. And of course, we were in our blue kits tonight. But when that goal went in, the only set of supporters you heard saying anything about one team in yellow were obviously us, the Watford supporters, the Watford faithful, who traveled to East Anglia. And I want to thank each and every one of those fans. Oh, my gosh. I just have not done a good job of getting this thing fixed behind me. But anyway, I want to thank those fans, the Watford faithful there, for showing up really large tonight. Again, on the Christmas period, Christmas Monday, to go away up to East Anglia and watch the Golden Boys get that late win. It's priceless. It makes that trip home all the more sweet. Get home safely. I'm sure some of you are probably only just getting home now after midnight on Tuesday morning, December the 30th, the penultimate day of 2025 now. And I'm sure that some of you are only just getting home. So I hope you get home safe and be careful out there. Great win tonight, despite the second half where we weren't so great. But the result is what counts here. I know Javi wants to focus on the performance, and I'm sure he will be showing the film to the lads about that second half. But as I said many times in this episode, for the Watford supporters, we absolutely did the fundamentals right. Footballing fundamentals in the second half were the key to us staying in the game and the key to keeping the game at 0-0. And that set the stage for what we did at the very end of the game. So we did a very good job with the footballing fundamentals, even though our performance overall was not great, so especially in the last third of the pitch. Thank you, Ryan, again. Joe Larkin, who, of course, was on X earlier. And thank you, Joe. I read out your comment on X as well on the You ORNS post-match there earlier, so you can go back and listen to that if you wish. Great comment there. And Joe says, You ORNS. Well done, Joe. Good to see you, man. Good to see you. Kevin Shanahan says, last 6 games, Watford are top performers. Absolutely, Kevin. We've done an excellent job here. The Golden Boys have been absolutely brilliant. Only 1 defeat in our last 12 games now, Kevin. And we've got 3 wins in a row. When was the last time Watford FC, the men's first team, had 3 wins in a row? You have to go back a few years. And I think it might have been under Cisco back in 2020 or 2021 season. Or it might have been back when Javi was last here, when we won 4 consecutive games to start the season in the Premier League in 2018. So it was one of those 2 managers who got us at least 3 wins in a row. And I think it was Cisco. But the last time we won 2 away games in a row was December of 2020, which the games were against Cardiff, and I think it was Brentford, something like that, whenever it was. But the bottom line is that this is the first time in 5 years that we've won back-to-back away games. Our away form was so bad. We've talked about for months how poor it was, for years how poor it's been. We hadn't won away since last April, until we won at Derby, back in October or November. And now it's like buses. You don't get any for a week, and then all of a sudden they come in bunches in the matter of minutes. And that's what's happened with Watford away from home. Different team now away from home. You don't go into the game thinking, oh, that's a loss anymore. You saw what they did against Wrexham. Should have won that game. You saw what they did against Leicester, coming from behind, showing great character. And you saw what they did tonight. Didn't give up on the game, didn't play well second half overall, but they didn't give up on the game. They defended well. They used the football fundamentals very well. And they got the 3 points, thanks to Iran Kunda and Sameda. Iran Kunda, again, a reminder, you ORNS Watford FC man of the match tonight against Norwich, or I should say tomorrow, because you're in the United Kingdom. It's now a Tuesday morning, early in the United Kingdom. Still Monday here, though, as the sun begins to set here in San Francisco, California. It's great to have you here. I'm going to continue to read out your comments, and then I will say goodbye. Joe Larkin says, quite a poor performance today, but a big 3 points before a tough game on New Year's Day. Yeah, I mean, first half, I thought we did well, Joe. The first 30 minutes, I thought we were really good, actually. Not excellent, but really good. First 30 minutes of the game. Then we just did not have the same energy and application, and Norwich grew into the game. The game petered out, and Norwich began to take control. And in the second half there, Joe, Norwich controlled the game. I mean, they ran us all over the pitch. We got tired. We looked tired. The subs were made, and I think the subs began to impact the game around the 80-minute mark, 85, and then you saw what happened. I think despite the poor second half, Joe, as I was saying a number of times, we did the footballing fundamentals well. We defended well in that second half. I thought we were wise with how we defended. We defended well with the ball, without the ball. So it was really, even though we had a poor second half, Joe, it was really the footballing fundamentals that we did right. When in doubt, kick it out. That's what we did. Never take it to chance. Never try to find the man in a crowded penalty box when you're trying to clear it, because it ricochets off of the opposition player, and the rest is history. We defended set pieces very well tonight. Obviously, it was a clean sheet tonight. Can't say that enough. I mean, this is really, even when we played poorly, Joe, as I said to people before, we did the footballing fundamentals well, and you can have a really poor half or even an overall unimpressive game like we did tonight, and yet still play well with defensive fundamentals, footballing fundamentals, and you still do those very well, but still play poorly. And that's not really a contradiction. I think there's actually not a contradiction there at all. But bottom line is, Joe, we got the 3 points. And I know Javi wants to focus on performance, but some nights you're just not going to perform as well. You're not going to have a game like you did against Leicester where you controlled the game in large part. That's just not going to happen every game. And now Birmingham, it might be you never know what's going to happen against Birmingham. And yeah, it's going to be a tough game. I agree, Joe. But I think we can get it done in the current form that we're in. Why not? If we can get a win against Birmingham, that would really be something. That would be 4 wins in a row and 1 defeat in our last 13. And as I keep saying, it's that kind of run that gets you places. It gets you places. A lot of football to play, though. 22 more of these championship matches to come. We've already played 24 of them. We've won 10 of those, drawn 8 of those, and lost 6 of those. What a turnaround. What an absolute turnaround. But it took time. And as I say, it's the journey. The destination, obviously, we know what the destination is that we want. But it's this journey of the ups and the downs and finding consistency and cohesion that's been absolutely glorious and frustrating to watch at times. Our home form, let's hope it continues into 2026 as good as it has been in 2025. Our away form is exactly where you need it to be if you want to challenge for playoff spots and better. The away form that we're showing now is exactly what we need if we are to make it to the playoffs and beyond. For weeks and weeks, you and I as Watford supporters were saying that this team is going to have a hard time getting to any playoffs if it doesn't improve its away performances. And now, voila. Those away performances are much improved. Certainly the results are. Wrexham, Leicester, Norwich. We're getting results. And getting them, sometimes we have no business getting them. We had no business winning this game tonight, quite frankly. But I think we just about deserved it because we seized the initiatives when there were tactical errors being made by the opposition. We pounced on them and pounced on them late in the game. Norwich was stuffed. We knocked the stuffing out of them. Speaking of Christmas dinner, and I've got lots of Christmas leftovers here. But we knocked the stuffing out of Norwich tonight because that goal came so late. And you just saw the body language of Norwich. They didn't give up, but you saw there was a different energy about Norwich after the Semedo goal. Watford are finding ways to win these matches. We are finding ways to win these matches. And we are finding different ways every game, whether we go behind first to get and then come back with character to get the win, whether we stay out front and win the game, or whether we nick a late goal, smash and grab operation like it was tonight. Remember against Leicester, they scored first against the run of play. We dominated Leicester, and we should never have conceded against them. It was a soft goal, as Matty Pollock said in the post-match interview in that game. But our character showed. And we're going to need to continue to have the character to stick with it and get over the line. And it showed tonight. More comments here. Thank you, Joe, for your comment. Thank you. Ryan says, does the board of Watford, he writes, have an email address at all? ? And Ryan continues, for Watford fans to ask them any questions that they have? ? Do you know at all, Omar? ? Coming from Ryan. Now, Ryan, they don't have a specific email address. There is a director of communications at Watford. And I forget, it's not Richard Walker anymore. It's somebody else. And there's a guy named Chris, I forget his last name, who is a fan liaison or still is. I just don't remember what these email addresses are. I would go to the Watford website and look for contact information there. And you can look under where it says contact, or look under it where those kinds of headings are, and try to find some information. The board doesn't have a centralized email address, though. What I would say, Ryan, is that perhaps somebody at Watford's communication department can actually pass on a message, but there is no direct email address that I am aware of that you can send something directly to the board. That just won't happen, and for obvious reasons. They do, Ryan, as you know, have an at our place meeting that takes place maybe 3 or 4 times a season. And there was an at our place gathering at the Vic with the owner, with Valon Barami, with Luca Nani a few short weeks ago. It might have been back in November or might have been back in November or October. I think it was in November, where they had an at our place at the Vic, and they invited fans to come in there and be there. So if you are in Hertfordshire, Ryan, or anywhere about in Hertfordshire or in Watford somewhere, or anywhere in that vicinity, when they do announce these at our place meetings, it would behoove you to, if you can, get to those meetings, and then you can directly address the owner and the technical director, Luca Nani, and Valon Barami. You can address them. They are very accessible there at these meetings, but nothing that I can tell you about a specific email address. I just don't know. I would say that there are no direct email addresses to the board. No way. They're not going to allow that. They wouldn't allow it. And if you look from their point of view, you can see why, you can understand why they wouldn't. But there is accessibility. Scott Duxbury, listen, these people do write in the program notes, and the owner does at times, and I understand that. But if you want to direct questions to them, I think you need to go through the Watford communications, and maybe write to the Watford social media team as well. Ryan, I think that would be a good idea. If you want to find out more, write to the social media team at Watford FC Official on Instagram, at Watford FC on the likes of X. And of course, I'm sure they have a YouTube channel. I know they do. But I think you want to go to X, or you'd want to go to Instagram at Watford FC Official on Instagram, and write to them, and maybe they'll answer you. I don't know. But I'd also go to watfordfc.com, go on their website, take a look and see if there's contact information on the site about email addresses, and maybe go from there. Maybe there'll be a form or a place where you can ask a question, you can send it, and maybe that will get through. So that's what that is for me, Ryan, as far as that goes. Thank you, Ryan, for the question. Ryan, they hold an in-person fan meeting. Yes, Joe Larkin has said exactly what I've just mentioned. So there we go. 12 people watching your live stream tonight. Yeah, it's nice. Thank you, Ryan. It's good to hear this news. Yep. I mean, listen, we'll get viewers where we can take them. As I've said before on this forum and others, it's nice to have more, but I'm really not, if that can happen, great. But that's really, I mean, of course, I'd like to have more viewers watching, but to me, I'm honestly not caught up in numbers and numbers and numbers. And I know YouTube and numbers and algorithms, I get that. It can be very good and it's very positive, and I understand that, and that's great. I love it. If I get more viewers, great. If I don't, I'm not going to stop doing what I'm doing here, and it's up to you as well, folks, to spread the word. If you'd like to see more people watching this live stream, spread the word. I'll put up more content and do my part. But those of you who do like these You ORNS Watford FC post matches, please spread the word. As I say all the time, spread the word to people that you know, to Watford fans, to other football fans, to subscribe to this particular channel on YouTube at You ORNS WFC. That would be terrific. But again, I do this because I love doing this, and I love talking to Watford fans, fellow Watford supporters. Whatever else happens is gravy. If I can get more subscribers, tremendous. If I can get more people watching this, tremendous. But the joy for me is connecting with Watford supporters, listening to what they have to say, and sharing our love of Watford Football Club, and what this men's first team is doing, what the women's team is doing as well, by the way. They've had a couple of bobbles here and there, but under Renee Hector, the women's team has been excellent. The Watford women have been brilliant this season, right up there for promotion. So, I'm delighted with how Watford Football Club is going at the minute. Sure, there's things off the pitch that can get sorted and changed, and we'd like to see a couple of different things happen. But the bottom line is that you've got to be happy as a Watford supporter right now. The women's team is doing very well. The men's team is doing very well in the playoff places. Hey, that's a great way to end 2025. So what can you say? Brilliant stuff. Thank you, Ryan, for the comment. Joe says, miss the Instagram lives, though. Yeah, I do too, Joe. Instagram has gone really, Instagram, I'm not a fan of, quite frankly, even though I still do use it occasionally, obviously, for the postings at WFC. But Instagram, I'm not a big fan of for lots of reasons. One of them is they changed their rules in the last few months. And they said that if you have a certain amount, I think it's 500 followers, and I don't have that. I have like 450 something followers, whatever it is. Don't even remember now. 453 or so. They made a rule change a few months ago that says you've got to have at least 500 or at least 1,000 followers, whichever it is, to post live videos. And I think that's really ridiculous because what they're doing is trying to shut down people's voices. That's what that really is. Because if you use a social media platform, you should be able to make a video whether you have 5,000 followers or no followers. That's what true democracy is. Everybody gets to have a voice. But if you're making this rule that says that only people with 500 or 1,000 followers or more can get to do you do an Instagram video, a live, then that's just a bunch of nonsense, isn't it? Because you've already cut out most of your Instagram viewership. I mean, most people on Instagram do not have thousands of followers. Most people on Instagram have maybe a few hundred followers or maybe a few dozen followers. Most people don't have thousands of followers or millions of followers. So it's just a completely undemocratic process, which is one of the reasons why I don't care for Instagram. If you really care about having your product out there and having everybody use it and use the full functionality of your product, then you should open it up to everybody. Of course, you can establish ground rules. If someone says things that are objectionable or post things that are objectionable, you've got rules of the road, terms of service, right? And then you can suspend somebody and get them off your platform. But don't take away viewers and watchers and listeners and potential participants on your platform by saying, oh, you've got to have 500 or 1,000 followers to do a video, to do a live. That's crazy. Then you're shrinking the pool, which I don't think is very good. Anyway, that's my rant over with. Thank you, Ryan, for your comment. And thank you, Joe, rather, for your comment as well. I'd love to do those Instagram lives again, but Instagram needs to change its rules and not shut out everybody who doesn't have, say, 500 or 1,000 followers. And there are people who have 1,000 followers, and good for them. And I hope they do great lives and all the rest of it. But yeah, the Instagram lives are terrific. I would love to do those. If I could do those, I'd do them. But I'm going to be doing a Substack live coming up maybe a little bit later. So that'll be too late for a lot of you in the United Kingdom. But I'm going to do a Substack live coming up a bit later on here in San Francisco. And that's why I want you to subscribe to the Substack I have for this particular YouTube, which is youornswfc, the number 1.substack.com. You can see it in the chat where I've pinned that address. I would love for you to go to that and subscribe there right now. youornswfc, the number 1.substack.com. I pinned the address, the web address, to the chat here. So on YouTube, you can see that right now, wherever you are. And you can see that. And I think in the replay of this, you'll also be able to see that pinned to the top of the chat. So please subscribe there. And I'll do some lives there. That's what I ultimately would love to do, since Instagram is doing the foolish things it's doing. Ultimately, I would love to do a live regularly on Substack with you, in addition to right here and, of course, on X. I just believe in having more platforms open to everybody, not less. Instagram believes in shrinking the pool to only a few people. There's no good reason to limit the number of people who can make a live video. There's no good reason. And as I've said, if anything untoward happens on the Instagram live, as a platform, you can shut that down. you have the tools as Instagram to do that. But again, I've made it very clear what I think about Instagram. But thank you very much indeed, Joe. Hopefully, at some point, either Instagram will change their minds or you'll go ahead and subscribe, as I think you may have already done, on Substack at youornswfc, the number one .substack.com. More comments. Oh my gosh, there are more comments here. What are the temperatures in San Francisco for coming into January? And do you get much snow up there? Ryan asked. No, Ryan, no snow here. We've not had any real snowfall in San Francisco for more than 50 years. Okay, so keep that in mind. Our temperatures right now are around 58 degrees Fahrenheit. It's going to be sunny for all this week, except for, I think, Friday will be the first day where we get some rain. We had some rain. We had some flooding here in this area of San Francisco where I am. We had some flooding on last Friday on Boxing Day. I took some video of that. I might post that actually on the Substack channel. So please subscribe and you'll be able to see. I think I'll post those photos, those videos of flooding last Friday. But other than that, and the heavy rain that we had on Friday of last week and one or two other days, it's been dry. It's been very sunny the last couple of days. It's going to continue that way through Thursday into New Year's Day, of course. And then I think on Friday, we're going to have some more rain. Temperatures around this time of year are around 57, 58 degrees Fahrenheit. Sometimes they get into the 60s. They may have done today for a little while. And of course, the temperatures literally for January are usually around 58, 57, 56 degrees Fahrenheit, sometimes occasionally going up into the 60 degrees plus Fahrenheit until we start to get a bit warmer as we go later on. But San Francisco is like that. This is the rain season in San Francisco. Every November through February, it tends to rain a whole lot. But apart from this last few days where it was raining pretty heavily, the last 2 days have been dry. So that is the answer to your question as far as that goes. Ryan asks this question, or he says, we support the Hornets. That's the way we like it. Whoa, whoa, whoa. Thank you, Ryan. And he says, so good, so good. Absolutely. These are the good times, Ryan. And to appreciate the good times, you have to go through the bad times a lot of times. And we have, as Watford supporters. Every football club's fans do. And listen, it's not to say that everything is perfect, but we are in a good period of time. We've not said this for a long time. Tom Cleverley, when he had that several months long unbeaten streak at the Vic, was probably the last time we had any semblance of anything to be happy about as far as the Watford FC men's first team is concerned. But these last 12 games have been outstanding. Just one defeat in that time and 3 wins on the spin. We have not had that for years. Back-to-back away wins. We've not had that in 5 years. Fantastic. Really, really good stuff. So thank you for that, Ryan. Ryan adds, Omar, BBC Three Counties Radio said 1,500 Orns fans showed up at Carrow Road. That's a really good job. That shows you how lively and engaged we are, as we always are, the Watford faithful, always bringing the numbers. In the midweek too. Well, this is not midweek, it's the beginning of a week, but it's Christmas week. It's literally, 5 days after, 4 days after Christmas. That's a good job out of us. We always travel well. We were at Leicester at the East Midlands, then we went to East Anglia in the space of 4 days. That's a good job. 1,500 fans. I think it was 2,000 at King Power the other day, and something like that, maybe less than that. But 1,500 tonight on a Monday night. Brilliant. Last game of the year. That's a great job. To the Watford faithful, well done. Absolutely job well done. And again, I hope you all got home safely as it's now half an hour past midnight. Gosh, I've really run through the stop sign on this edition of the You ORNS Watford FC post-match. But there's comments. I'm just keep reading your comments out. I got to do it. Why? Come on. You can't not read the comments. I will appreciate each and every one of you who have made a comment here on this edition of the You ORNS Watford FC post-match. After Norwich City 0, Watford 1. Ryan says, Omar, I actually live in East Anglia of Lowestoft, which is 40 minutes from Norwich. I remember you mentioned that. Thank you for reminding me, Ryan. Ryan writes on, and 1 hour's drive to Ipswich Town. I, of course, traveled down to Watford as I am a season ticket holder as well. Ryan, thank you for that. You did tell me, I do remember several weeks ago, several months back, because I've not done one of these in a few weeks now, since I got back as I was traveling in New York City several weeks ago. And I've not really done one of these, maybe but once in the last few weeks. But Ryan, yeah, I remember when you told me that when we played Ipswich, or when we were about to play Ipswich, before we played Ipswich, you did write that you are from that part of the world where you live there. So great job by you traveling. That's not very close. It's not like that's a really close trip. You still have to drive the hour plus, as you pointed out. Um, Pardon me. That's a good job by you, Ryan. A real loyal Watford supporter, season ticket holder. Well done. And I do remember that you talked about perhaps going up to the upper Graham Taylor stand. Let's see if you do. I think you'll be rewarded with a good visual experience from there. So, Ryan, thanks again, and good job by you once again. Ted Guerin says, long time subscriber here from the US. Always appreciate the great vocabulary and enthusiasm. Ted Guerin, thank you very much for that. Thank you for subscribing as well. Always appreciate that. Any more comments? Any more for any more? Ryan says this. Ryan, hello again to you. I watched the At Our Place video on YouTube in November. That's right, Ryan. They did post that on YouTube. Exactly right. And I know you asked about this a few minutes ago about trying to get in contact with the front office. Yeah, they do post this stuff on social media, and they did put. I think they put close. I don't think they put maybe they did put the entire meeting on there. I don't remember. It was just. It might have been the entire thing. But Ryan, yes, they did. Thank you for reminding us all. Scott said at the time, it would be great to expand the Sir Elton John stand to make it into an upper tier stand like the Graham Taylor. Now, he has talked about this on several occasions before that meeting last month, Ryan. Scott talked about this a couple of years ago, where he wanted to make an upper tier to the Sir Elton stand. And I don't know if he will. Of course, it's going to cost a lot of money. It's going to take a lot of time. If Watford get back into the Premier League and become an established Premier League side again, or even if they don't, we might be talking about that investment going in. It all depends on the money and the investments made, and also about whether Gino ends up selling this club or not. Because if Watford were to get back into the Premier League at the end of this season, for example, and I really don't want to jinx that, but I probably, said too much already. You got to think about the fact that maybe Gino might be looking to sell the club as a going concern, having got them Premier League status again. So, that's an intangible, or at least I should say an unknown, that we have to look at. If this lot return to the Premier League, is Gino going to sell, or is he going to hold on? Is he going to stick, or is he going to twist? And I don't know the answer to that. He might choose to sell. It might try to find American investors. We've had this issue before where Gino has had meetings with American investors and things have fallen through or just not gone through. They've just not followed on. It's hard to say. It's a good question, though. It's hard to say, though, Ryan. And I think a lot of whether or not there is an expansion to the Sir Elton John, and if there is an upper tier to the Elton John, I think a lot of that will go into whether or not the owner decides to sell, and if the new owner is going to make that expansion happen, if there is a new owner anytime soon. Gino is not going to hold on to the club forever, okay? Nobody does, right? Nobody owns a club forever. Nobody. Now, maybe they pass it down to their successive heirs, if you will. There's sporting clubs all over the world that have done that. I think about Kansas City in the NFL. Who Lamar Hunt, who owned the Kansas City football team, passed away, and now Clark Hunt, the son, is the chief executive and owner of the Kansas City team in the NFL, who are not making the playoffs this season, by the way, for those of you who are Kansas City fans. So that's the only way this thing gets passed down. If Gino passes it down to someone, I don't know if Gino has children or not. But that's the only way it stays in the Pozzo family hands. Or if a family member takes, whatever. But it's an open question as to whether or not Gino sells the club, whether they stay in the championship or whether they are in the Premier League at the end of the season. It's an open question. And it's a question that needs to be asked, I think, more around the time when or if these things happen. So, we'll see about the stand being expanded. Again, as I said, Scott Duxbury's talked about that for several years now. So that's not anything really new as far as I'm concerned. Ryan, thank you for that once again. Ryan adds, what about doing a Facebook Live as well, Omar? That may help you. Omar question mark writes Ryan. Yeah, again, I think this is stubbornness from me. I do not like Facebook either. You can tell I'm not a fan of those who own Facebook and Instagram and WhatsApp. But maybe I should do that. Maybe that's the thing I should do. It certainly would help bring in some more viewers. I think that's true. Maybe I should be a little bit less stubborn about that. Um, Perhaps, but it's a good suggestion, Ryan. I've got to look into that. I am not a Facebook person. I'm not a fan of that platform at all. But you know what? You got to go where the people are. And if there are people on Facebook, a platform that I might not like or might not care for, then yeah, then there's more viewers there. So I've got to weigh those things for 2026, Ryan. Thank you very much for that. As we have gone way through the stop sign here. Oh my gosh. Run through the red light. It's now well past 12:30 in the morning. So those of you in the United Kingdom, I don't blame you if you are no longer watching this live as at the time I'm recording this. But for those of you who are wherever you are in the world, if you're in the USA or wherever you might be, whether you're on the African continent, whether you're somewhere else in Europe, whether you're in the Far East, in Asia, in the continent there, or whether you're somewhere else on the planet, thank you very much for lending your listening ear and your eyes to this You ORNS Watford FC post-match, the last one of 2015. I think that's probably why I'm going this long, isn't it? I don't normally do these during the middle of the week, but today, because it is the very last one of the year, I thought, you know what, Watford, they got to win as well. I wouldn't have done this if we had lost the game tonight. I can guarantee you that. This is a good time to close out the year with this You ORNS post-match here on YouTube at youornswfc. And thank you everyone who subscribes. And if you haven't subscribed yet, what are you waiting for? Come on then, get on board and subscribe, won't you, to the You ORNS WFC You ORNS YouTube channel at youornswfc. Like the videos and subscribe. Thank you very much. And spread the word. Would be greatly appreciated. What a win tonight, Omar, says Brown Electrons. Thank you, Brown. Great to see you again. And thank you for that comment. It was a great win tonight. We didn't play particularly well in the second half. Played strong football for the first 30 minutes of the first half. But after that, Norwich began to find a way into the game. It ran us ragged second half, but we did the footballing fundamentals well, Brown, as I've said throughout this night tonight. We defended well. Even though I think we looked a bit tired second half, we didn't have any ideas second half. But what we did, despite the poor second half performance overall, was the football fundamentals, and we did that well in the second half, and that can take you a long way, even with a poor performance. So kudos to the lads tonight. Hats off to them. They did a fantastic job tonight defending and defending well throughout the game. So we kept a clean sheet for that, Brown, and that's another thing. 2 clean sheets now in the last 3 games. That is a very good sign. Ryan, and again, thank you, Brown, for that. Jeremy is a beast, says Brown, and he's talking about not Jeremy Petrie, who has not had a real chance lately. He's talking about Jeremy Ngaka, who was subbed off in this game, and I'm sure will start the game on Thursday. I'm pretty confident that he will. Jeremy Ngaka has had a spectacular season, by the way. And Brown writes on, nobody is beating him in a one-on-one, in a 1v1, reminding me of the great Lloyd Doyley. Yeah, Brown, that's a good point. Lloyd Doyley was very good with this as well. Very tenacious defender. He held his ground well, had great pace to him. He also scored as well, like Ngaka is doing. Ngaka has had an excellent season. And I know a lot of people are going, well, Matt, they're looking at Imran Losers, player of the season at this point to repeat that crown from last season. They're looking at Matty Pollock. I'm looking at Jeremy Ngaka. Okay? I'm looking at Jeremy Ngaka. Nobody seems to be except for Brown here and maybe 1 or 2 other people, a number of people actually who have agreed with my statement about Jeremy Ngaka, which I'm about to repeat here. Right now, after 24 games, Jeremy Ngaka is your Graham Taylor Watford FC player of the season. Jeremy Ngaka has been by far the most consistent Watford player game to game this season. Not Loser, not Pollock, not Iran Kunda, not Marma, not Max Elaine, not Matty Pollock. None of these people have been consistent as Ngaka has. And Ngaka doesn't have to do the flashy, dashy thing. It's about the intangibles that Jeremy Ngakia brings. His game has improved, definitely the most improved player is Ngakia, but he's also the player of the season. He is much more forward thinking. He's much more aggressive. His passing is much better. Great diagonal balls. He's considering the field much better. He's thinking out there. Very smart footballer. Real professional. Scored 2 goals this season, at least 2. One of them off a corner, 2 in the same game, 2 in the same half, I believe. Against Oxford, I think it was, at the Vic. Jeremy Ngakia has defended his position very well, on the ball, off the ball. Made a couple of vital clearances against Leicester, made a couple of great interceptions tonight. Turns defense into offense. Great transition player. Good ball carrier. Really good crosses. He's had a few assists this season. Jeremy Ngakia has become a complete player. And Jeremy Ngakia is the same player who now ex-West Ham captain Mark Noble was so upset at the West Ham upper brass several years ago, and I've told this story before here, for letting Ngakia go from West Ham. And he said that West Ham would rue the day when they let Ngakia leave like this. And he was furious about it. It was very well known. You can go look this up. Don't have to believe me. Go check it out for yourself. He said that the West Ham board made a big mistake in letting a player of Ngakia's promise and talent leave, and leave for nothing. And that's exactly what they did. They let him go basically for nothing. And Watford picked him up. And Watford now are pushing in the playoffs, and West Ham now are in the bottom 3 in the Premier League. And I predicted before this season began that West Ham would go down. And West Ham, I think, are going to absolutely prove me to be correct. They've already had their manager. They've had 2 managers already, like Watford have, but they've had 2 managers already. Nuno's going sideways and downwards. He's probably going to be gone in a few weeks. And West Ham still can't get wins. Jeremy Ngakia, right now, after 24 games, is the Graham Taylor Watford FC player of the season. It's not even close to me. To me, it's not close. And people have their favorites. And yes, I admit I am someone who likes Ngakia. I was a strong proponent of him when a lot of Watford fans were slagging him off. Watford fans who didn't want him anywhere near the Vic. He is having a breakout year. And he is doing very well. And I know Watford fans, some of us like Loser better. Some of us are big fans of Pollock. Some of us are big fans of this one or that one. I get it. I understand all that. But look at the play day to day of what they are doing. And Losers had some games where he's not been at it. So has Pollock. Earlier in the season, Pollock had a few games where he was not doing very much. It's these last 5 or 6 weeks where Pollock has been terrific. But remember, he had been injured, and there was a load of games where he wasn't making any impact. And there were a couple of games where he was on the bench. And Ngakia started almost every one of these games. He was out sick in one of them. I think it was Wrexham. But in pretty much every game he has started. He had an injury, I think, for a game or 2. Maybe he missed early. Maybe. Quadro Bar's not the player of the season. He's been injured too much. That is not, although that is definitely a good player, but he's not the player of the season this year so far. We've got lots of way to go. It's early doors. But come on now, let's be fair. And Ngakia has been the most consistent player on the team. And he does the small things very well. He's grown up a hell of a lot. He's matured. He's got a solid head on his shoulders. He's a really good lad. Check out his Instagram. I think you follow him at j.n. J full stop N full stop on Instagram. I think that's his. That might be his, or maybe just type his name in and you'll find him. I love that Instagram feed he's got. I need to properly follow him. I've been looking at it. I need to actually follow. Take a look at that. This lad's a good lad, and he's a good lad on and off the pitch. And he really is a very devout person. He's a humble figure, and he does the job. It's time to think about Ngaki seriously as your player of the season right now. It's time to give him some consideration and some respect, because I think he's earned it. He's gone through the school of hard knocks at Watford over the years. It's been tough. Lots of injuries, a few mistakes, Watford fans on his back at times, but now not so much. Not so much. Thank you for that, Brown. I know there's some of you who are going to bed in the United Kingdom, so bear with me. I just keep reading out your comments, and I'm almost at the end of them now. Ryan says, I remember you usually do lives on weekends, if I'm not mistaken. Ryan, that's correct. I do the lives on the weekends, obviously, because, quite frankly, because, no work on the weekends, although that's not always true. But when you're not working on the weekend, in my situation, I don't work on the weekend usually, although that can change. So I'm in a position where I can do the lives, obviously, on the weekends. During the week, it's a lot harder to do because I'm working during the week. But today, work-wise, it was not as intense a day and not as heavy as a day. And I was able to set up the live here, but do it a bit later after work concluded, on this particular day at least. But during the week, generally, lives don't happen on video like this. Now, I still do the X lives, the post-match on X live, because that's easy to do when you're doing audio only. But when you're doing video and audio, obviously, it's a lot different. So anyway, that's correct, Ryan. And Happy New Year to you. Ryan says, Happy New Year, Omar. I'm going to bed now. Thank you. Going to bed now. Thank you. You're welcome, Ryan, and thank you for watching and following and subscribing, and also for making suggestions that you have throughout this this calendar year of 2025 on the You ORNS Watford FC post-match. Thank you, Ryan. Take care and have a good night's sleep. I'm sure you'll sleep well this morning off of the back of this Watford win at Norwich. Now, Brown Electrons continues on. Ngakia, Pollock, and Loser are all in contention for me. Still a second half to go, though. Yep. Brown, as I said, and you're quite right, as I've also said, still early doors, lots of football to play. And I was only saying, as of right now, after 24 games, you've got to look at him significantly, I think, as that one who is that man who is player of the season. But again, as you point out, and as I pointed out, you still got 22 more of these games to play. So we'll find out ultimately who is going to be the Graham Taylor Watford FC player of the season. But I tell you, Jeremy Ngakia, no matter what happens, is going to get some votes, and he might get mine depending on how the rest of this season goes. Pollock definitely has come on strong. He'll definitely get votes. Loser will definitely get votes. Loser, of course, is the reigning player of the season. And now with this injury, who knows how serious it is? That may affect that as well, Brown. But thank you for the comment as ever. Ryan says, your live streams that you do, I appreciate it, as YouTube lives is something that I'm personally nervous to do, writes Ryan. That's something that I would not do, but I enjoyed commenting with all supporters. Ryan, thank you for that. Ryan, it's all about whether or not you feel comfortable. If you don't feel comfortable doing a YouTube live, you don't have to do them, obviously. But put it this way. If you feel passionate about Watford, and if you think that there's things you need to say that Watford fans need to be hearing, then you should do it. And believe me, you might feel nervous at first, but the nerves eventually will go away when you do these lives more and more often. As you get to do more of them, you become less nervous and more comfortable. And then, of course, ultimately, you then build a following. And it takes time. None of these things happened overnight. None of them, and some of it involves money in some cases. People, we don't know how this all happens, right? Because some people get financed to do this stuff, and you can make money off of these things. Some people get people pouring in money for them, buying followers, buying bots and trolls to be followers and desubscribe. I mean, there's all kinds of things that people do to get audiences on social media. It's all kinds of things. But when it comes to these lives, Ryan, there's no reason why you can't do them. If you're nervous and that makes you uncomfortable with it, I can understand that. But trust me, once you start to do 1 or 2 or 5 of these things and start to get comfortable, believe me, you will become less nervous. And then you have to build a following. Just keep being out there, saying the things you believe in around Watford, and there will be people who will come across your channel who will believe in your authenticity. You got to be you. You have to be who you are. You can't, and this is not just to Ryan, this is a message to anyone watching this. When you do these lives, don't try to be something that you're not. Don't try to copy someone else. You've got to be you, because people will see if you try to copy someone else, people will see that you're not being who you are. It will show through, right? You've got to have your own unique voice, and that can only come from you, right? It can't come from anyone else. Copying people might sound like a good idea, but it only gets you so far before you become found out. You get found out, and you don't want to do that. You got to be original, be yourself. That's something that I learned for a long time, and there are lots of good people out there in the world, some great role models who have done this for decades, who have been in the serious business of broadcasting, who say, be authentic, be original, and be daring. Joe Madison, nicknamed the Black Eagle here in the United States, who is no longer with us, who did live shows on the radio about politics and things like that, always said you have to be original, authentic, and daring. And you have to be those things. You have to have your own voice. That's my advice. So, Ryan, it's up to you. I understand what you're saying. But once you start doing these things, the nerves begin to disappear. I mean, I started out being a little bit nervous with some of this stuff, but I have been doing these things on and off for a long time. And so, the nerves really don't become a factor. And don't be afraid to fail. Like I say, I don't really bother about the number of people that watch. Of course, everybody would rather have a bigger audience. I would love to have millions of people or hundreds of thousands of people watching at once. I would love that. Of course I would. Anybody would. You would, I would, we all would. But for me, this is about the joy and the passion of talking about Watford Football Club and engaging with Watford supporters, doing that, all of us together as Watford supporters, talking about this club that we love, talking about the games, talking about the ups and downs. That's what I get out of it. The numbers, okay, fine. I'll live with the numbers. If the numbers never grow, I'm happy with what I have. I would rather have more, of course, and maybe I can do more to increase the numbers. And it does require a lot of people doing that to get the word out. But hey, I'm very content doing what I'm doing. I do not stress out over not having lots of numbers. I know some people do, and it's like, oh my God, I don't look at all of that. I really honestly don't. It's about communicating your voice, your passion, and being original. So that's what I wanted to say to you, Ryan. Thank you for that. Brown says West Ham are probably regretting the Moyes decision. Yeah, I think so too. I think West Ham got a bit cavalier there, Brown. At the end of that season, was it last season? Yeah, I think it was last season. When they maybe the season before, when they let it might have been the season before last. I forget which it was. When they let David Moyes go at the end of the season, he got them a European title. I think it was the Conference League that West Ham won a few short seasons ago, and then they let him go at the end of that. They fired David Moyes and then rehired him. Remember, West Ham had Moyes twice. People forget that. David Moyes, when we were in the Premier League, Watford were, and we had Richarlison, David Moyes was on West Ham then, and we beat West Ham. And then later on in that season, they got rid of Moyes. And then they brought him back a few seasons later, and then they got rid of him again. So, West Ham made a mistake with him. I think David Moyes they should have stuck with, but they obviously, the West Ham hierarchy wanted to go in a different direction. And so they did. What are you going to do? But I hear you, Brown. I think West Ham probably are. I do think they probably are regretting the decision on David Moyes. I really do. But you live and you learn. And some of these owners and people in the front offices of these football clubs are very stubborn. Very, very stubborn. Very stubborn. Let me see if I can adjust something with the light here for a second. Let me see if I can do this. I don't know if this is going to work or not. There we are. Maybe a little bit better lighting-wise as the sun begins to set here. But that's probably what it is. We'll see about West Ham. I think West Ham are going down. but we'll see. There's still a half a season left in the Premier League. There's some big games this week in the Premier League. You've got Arsenal taking on Aston Villa tomorrow at the Emirates. That's going to be a massive game. Really, it's today, right? If you're watching in the UK right now, as I record this live, it's Tuesday. So it's already Tuesday there. So that game later tonight is massive in the Premier League. Arsenal, Aston Villa, who've won, I think, 11 in a row, 7 straight or 8 straight, whatever it is in the Premier League. Villa are on fire. They came from behind against Chelsea over the weekend, and Arsenal got over the line against Brighton. And Arsenal have not been playing well lately, but they're finding ways to win. And then they've got a big game against Villa, and Villa beat them, I think, last season or the season before at the Emirates. So this is a massive game to later on today. And that's an understatement. Everybody will be watching that game, I'm sure, including you and I. Dan says, Jezza, yes. Thank you, Dan. Jezza, indeed. Jezza is absolutely on for me, man. I think he is. Listen, again, I know we've got 22 games to go, but Jeremy Ngake is the player who deserves that mantle of Graham Taylor, Watford FC Player of the Season. Again, I know, so got 22 games to go, but Jeremy Ngake has played really good football. He's a steady Eddie. He's been really the most consistent Watford player from day one to now this season, and long may it continue. So we'll see, Dan, if it happens. Of course, the fans vote for this. It's not like the club itself gives this out. I think it's based on what the fans say. I mean, we voted for I think when Wesley Hook won 2 seasons ago, it was the fans that voted for it. And so I think this all comes from the fans. So if it all comes from the fans, I am not going to be very confident that Jezza wins. But I think he's richly deserving after 24 games. And we still see what the other 22 games are going to be like. But after 24 games, so far, he's in strong contention for me. But we'll see. Long way to go. Thank you very much, Dan. Brown says, thanks for the stream, Omar. We're still very spoiled as Watford fans. So many great podcasts to listen to. You Orns from the Rookery NW. D18, DNSYE, and Watford Buzz. Yeah, we do have an embarrassment of riches of people who have put out some good product. So that is a very good point there, Brown. A very good point. The podcast, I actually have finally got back to doing the You Orns Watford FC podcast. Speaking of podcasts, and the most recent, and the one I did, which is just this Friday on Boxing Day, after the win at Leicester, that's available now on Apple and numerous other podcasting platforms. So I should mention that. So if you haven't listened to that, give that a listen, won't you? On Spotify, I think it is on Apple, definitely. So give that a listen. And I'll be also doing a podcast episode for what happened at Carrow Road on Monday, which will come out today if you're in the UK, being Tuesday. So when you wake up, that one will be ready for you as well. Ryan says, so thank you, Brown, for that. Appreciate it. Yes, there's a lot of good folk out here, people who are doing this and doing it pretty blooming well across all fronts. So you do have a lot to choose from. And listen, the more the merrier. I've always said this, that the more the merrier, the more people who are doing this on a Watford persuasion, the better. I don't believe it should only be 1 or 2 people. I've never believed that. I said this about Instagram. Instagram should not be limiting its voices to only people who have X amount of followers who can make a live video. I said that earlier. Same thing goes with the podcasting for Watford fans or for Watford for the club. It shouldn't just be 1 or 2 people. I don't think so. Now, if you have 20 people who do this and people gravitate to 2 or 3 people, that's fine. That's the marketplace. That's what people do. Fans gravitate to what they think is the best, what they like. Fine. I got no problem with any of that. But what I do have an issue with is the idea that only 1 or 2 or 3 people should be getting to do this. No, I'm all for anybody doing this. If you know anything about the club, if you know anything at all about Watford, or even if you don't know a whole lot about Watford, but you are a passionate Watford fan, you should be allowed the same airwaves as the people who've been doing this for 30 years, or doing it for 40 years, or 10 years, or 5. I don't think there should be any reason to discriminate or to look down on someone who's just brand new to this. Again, it's called democracy. It's about allowing as many different voices to do this as possible. And I'm all for that. I'm all for it. It makes the Watford fan podcast or fan post-game show stronger, to have more voices. And then you can decide which ones you want to go to. You can go to all of them. You can go to one or two of them. You can go to whatever. I mean, that's the beauty of it. So, yes, I am someone who's all for um, having more voices involved. And the fans will make a decision as to who's good, who they like, and who they think is kind of not really up to it. The fans, that's what democracy is. And the fans have a broad array of people that they can choose from. And then there may be a few that may not choose to go to. So that's perfectly fine. But I do believe in having as many voices. So, Brown, thank you for mentioning that. Yeah, we do have a lot of really good podcasts and good entities to listen to. I think that's very important. Yeah, I think it's great to have more. Bring on more. I'm all for it. And I just think, again, I'm not looking to have millions of followers. It's nice, and I'm sure it's great. But for me, this is about having a voice, being passionate, connecting with the fan base, and speaking my mind about the club. When the club does great things, you'll hear me cheerlead them and support them. When the club doesn't do great things, you'll hear me be critical about that. I am not afraid, as you know by now, to be very clear about where I am when this club doesn't do the right thing, or when the owner doesn't do the right thing. I've made it very clear what my position of the owner is. But I also give the owner credit when he does things correctly, when he doesn't raise the season ticket prices and he freezes them, when he actually has a great summer transfer window like the one he's had, when he doesn't fire Javi Gracia, which God forbid if he does that now. He'd be out of his mind, wouldn't he? No matter what happens the rest of the way. Javi Gracia has got to be here next season. I don't care what happens at the end of this season. Right? But there are times when this club does the things that does things I don't like and you don't like, and there's lots of times when they get it right. So look, I made my point here. Ryan says, Omar, do you run the YouTube channel part-time or do you have another job? I'm busy with another job. I'm very busy with another job. But I do run this YouTube channel, but I do have another job. So it is a part-time running of this, obviously. But yeah, I have another job, a full-time job. And so, yeah, that to answer your question, Ryan, that's exactly it. Ryan continues, have you watched the video of Elton John opening up his own stand in 2014? I have seen that video. I think this might be the one where he appears on the pitch with his husband and his kids. But if that is not the one, because I think that was the one in 2014, Ryan. But if it's not the one, then I'll have to go and look for it. But I think it is the one. He had the scarf on that's similar to this, and he had the long coat on. I think it was during the game against Millwall back then, years ago, something like that, at halftime or before the game started, something like that. And so, yes, I think I have seen that video. Ryan, thank you very much for that comment. I want to thank each and every one of you. Lots of you commenting tonight over the last nearly 2 hours now of this You ORNS WFC on YouTube, the You ORNS Watford FC post-match after Norwich City 0, Watford 1. I want to thank each and every one of you once again for all your comments, and for those of you who are not watching this live, who are watching it later on after the recording, all of you who stuck with it here through the early morning hours of Tuesday, December the 30th, 2025. Thank you for doing that. My goodness me, it's just after 1 o'clock in the morning. Let the record reflect that. Here on Tuesday, December the 30th, 2025 in the UK. But here in sunny San Francisco, where the sun is beginning to set, it's now after 5 p.m. So, yeah, it's beginning to get a little bit darker here. But I want to thank you very much. Happy New Year to you as well, Ryan. Happy New Year for 2026. I want to actually end the way that Ryan has here. I want to wish each and every one of you a safe and happy and healthy new year, a better new year, a better 2026. If you're going out for New Year's Eve, get out there, have fun, but be safe and be careful, of course, right? Be careful on New Year's Eve. I love New Year's Eve, but look, be careful at New Year's Eve. A lot of craziness goes on. Just be careful, have a few drinks, but don't drive, okay? Turn over the driving to somebody else, someone who is not drinking. Get a designated driver, catch a cab, or one of those other I don't want to mention the names of the other companies out there that do cabs and do lit rides and all that. I almost said one of them, but I don't want to give them a platform. You know who they are, right? Do one of them, but do not get behind the wheel, okay? If you're drinking on New Year's Eve, which would be tomorrow in the United Kingdom as I end this recording, make sure that you have a designated driver or use some public transportation like the buses or the tubes. I know they stop running at some point at like 1 or 2 o'clock in the morning, I think. And then there are the night buses. Get a taxi, as Ryan's talked about, but please be careful wherever you are in the world, not just in the United Kingdom, but anywhere around the world. Have a safe, happier, healthier 2026. Have a great time on New Year's Eve. Live it up, party it up, have a few drinks, but be careful out there. Be safe out there, and make sure you get into a cab, get into a taxi, get into public transportation, and get a safe ride home, won't you? It's been a great pleasure having you for this calendar year of 2025. We'll do this all again to begin 2026. I might post a video in between now and 2026, so stay alert for that, because I think that is going to come, 1 or 2 videos. But until I do another live of you, which will of course will be in 2026, have a safe, happy, and healthy 2026. Be careful to read out these comments. Thank you, Omar. Hopefully see you on New Year's Day, says Dan. Ryan says, get a taxi. Yes. Dan says, never drink and drive. Absolutely. Those old commercials in the UK were really, really good. The Think commercials, very powerful. You should go and go to YouTube and watch some of those 1970s Think Before You Drink, Before You Drive commercials. They will scare you, as they did me when I was in England all the way back in the 70s. Oh my God, yes, I am an older man. But the Think campaign was very effective with those drink driving commercials. You should go on YouTube, go and look at some of them. Even the 1990s were some really powerful ones, but the 70s and 80s, especially in the 70s, woo, some of them were really powerful. Go and look them up in the 70s and 80s, particularly. Quite powerful ones. In the 60s, I don't know that they had too many of them, but in the 70s and 80s, woo. But look up all those. They will scare you straight. Trust me, they're quite powerful and quite disturbing, and some of them you might find to be violent. So I'm going to warn you in advance. Those commercials will really, I think, scare you straight. But we'll see. We'll see if you think the same way. Let's make it 4 in 4, says Brown. 4 in 4 wins, says Brown. Come on, you orns. Later, Omar. Thank you. Later to you, Brown. Great pleasure seeing you as always. Watford Way says, wishing you all the best. Thanks, Omar. Same to you, Watford Way. You're doing a great job out there. And thank you very much for coming in and saying hello. And a happy new year as well. Ryan says, someone told me in the 70s about Watford strudel. Do you remember that? Yeah, I actually do. I'm not going to talk about that right now, though, because I've kept you for way, way too long. It is nearly 2 hours of this, and it's already past 1 a.m. on Tuesday morning. So look, for you in the UK, it's a very, very early part of the morning, I should say. Be careful, be safe. And for me, Omar, here in sunny San Francisco, where the sun is beginning to set, have a happy, healthy, and safe 2026. Happy New Year to you all. And until next time, Happy New Year. Take care.